Let me ask you something. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Saturday Night Live's legacy? For most people, it's the comedy sketches, the iconic hosts, the absurd humor. But here's a wild thought. What if I told you the very first musical performance on SNL wasn't by a rock star, a pop icon, or even someone you've heard of? It was a guy named Billy Preston, playing a song called Nothing from Nothing in a studio that probably felt like a spaceship compared to the dingy clubs he played before. And that's not just a fun fact. It's a window into how SNL's identity was forged in the shadows of bigger things, like the Beatles, and how it carved out its own space in pop culture. Let me break this down for you. Think about this. SNL started in 1975, right in the middle of a cultural earthquake. The 70s were all about rebellion, experimentation, and finding new ways to make art matter. But here's the kicker. When they launched, they didn't just want to be a comedy show. They wanted to be a cultural battleground. And that's why the first music performance wasn't some flashy spectacle. It was Billy Preston, a keyboardist who'd played with the Beatles, but also a guy who was fighting to be seen as more than just a sideman. To me, that's fascinating. SNL's first musical act wasn't about selling records or creating a spectacle. It was about proving that this show could be a platform for artists who weren't just there for the laughs. It was a statement. We're not just here for comedy. We're here to challenge, to amplify, to make art part of the conversation. Now, let's talk about Billy Preston for a second. He's not a name most people drop in casual conversation, but he's the guy who played on Hey Jude and Let It Be. He was the keyboardist who made those songs feel like they were alive. And yet, when he stepped onto that SNL stage in 1975, he wasn't there to headline. He was there because the show needed someone who could bridge the gap between the absurdity of the sketches and the reality of live performance. That's what makes this so interesting. SNL wasn't just booking whoever was hot at the time. They were looking for people who could hold their own in a space that was equal parts comedy and chaos. And Preston? He was the perfect fit. His performance of Nothing from Nothing wasn't just a song. It was a reminder that even in the most surreal of environments, music could still feel real. But here's the thing that really gets me. This choice says so much about how SNL saw itself in its early days. They weren't trying to be a concert venue. They weren't trying to be a platform for the biggest names. They were trying to be something else entirely, a place where art and absurdity could collide. And that's why, when Janis Ian later performed at 17, it felt like a natural progression. The show wasn't just about showcasing talent. It was about creating a space where music could be part of the storytelling. It's like they were saying, we're not just here to make you laugh. We're here to make you think, feel, and maybe even cry. What I find really intriguing is how this early decision shaped SNL's future. The show's music segments became legendary, from Bowie's avant-garde performance to Sinead O'Connor's iconic protest. But it all started with a guy in a suit playing a song that wasn't even a hit. That's the kind of underdog story that makes me think, what if we looked at SNL's legacy not through the lens of its biggest stars, but through the moments that defined its soul? Because the truth is, the first song on SNL wasn't just a footnote. It was a blueprint. It showed that the show wasn't afraid to take risks, to trust artists who weren't just there for the spotlight, and to use music as a way to connect with audiences in ways that comedy alone couldn't. And that, my friends, is why SNL still matters today.